Alright, what do I call you guys?
You may call me Breck. He is Brock.
Alrighty then, follow me.
And, might I ask, what may we call you?
For now, you can just call me Sentinel.
Isn't Sentinel a word in this language?
It's a job title, not a name. The town sorta needs one.
What do you mean?
A pulse of light and sound exuded from the lantern. Ah, shoot. Sorry guys, but we're gonna have to take a detour.
If you are leading us into a trap.
It's not a trap. Dealing with hostile aliens isn't my only duty. Other stuff also pops up. And we are oh so lucky to have a bit of an infestation we gotta go deal with. Feel free to run off if you want, but some of the others you might find you can be a bit more shoot first, ask questions later, if you get my meaning. Breck and Brock looked at each other and stayed silent, continuing to follow me. As they walked, the pulsing of the lantern grew faster and faster, until the light and sound became constant. Standing 50 yards ahead of us was a dark black void in existence. Oblong in shape, shadows danced on the surface of the void, moving in and out with no discernible pattern. I took a step forward. Suddenly, the shadows extended further from the portal. The movements became more and more erratic until one of the shadows pulled free from the void entirely and flew in an arc towards me. It approached. 45 yards, 30 yards, 15 yards. The Ivanians prepared for combat, but before they had the opportunity to engage, a flash appeared from the lantern. It was almost as blinding as the one they saw in the bushes, but this time when the light disappeared, the lantern had vanished. In its place, and in my hand, appeared a large battle axe. Its blades were the size of my torso and the color of a bright emerald. Its handle shared the color of the lantern's frame and bale. But oddly, they weren't connected. Above the end of the handle and between the two blades levitated the circular light previously seen inside the lantern. None of the pieces seemed connected, but all held their place, defying gravity. I swung the axe, splitting the shadow as it reached me. The shadow dissipated immediately. Alright, quick explanation. The shadows want the lantern. It's the only thing that can both defeat them and banish the portal. I need about 20 uninterrupted seconds within a few feet of it in order to make the portal go away. But the closer I get, the more shadows come out at a time and faster. Normally this takes me about half an hour alone, but if you guys help, we can be done in no time.
If you're the only one who can incapacitate them, how can we possibly help?
Despite the look, they're still mostly physical. Even if you can't beat them, you can still grab them, hit them, and put them down for a bit. You're soldiers, right? You can take on a couple of mindless, whatever you'd call them.
You don't have a name for them?
I normally call them shadows, but so many people use that word for different things that it gets confusing in conversations. We're having a town debate about what to call them in a few weeks.
And why should we help you? It'd be better to attack you while you're fighting those things, then take that weapon and use it for ourselves.
Maybe, but you couldn't use this even if you tried. And if you somehow got past that problem, how experienced are you at figuring out how alien magic artifacts work? Because those things won't stop coming. Even if you run before they can get you, we've never found a limit to how many come out. For all we know, you just leave the whole world to these things and whatever they want. Not exactly good for your empire, huh? So, you guys have more Q&A, or are we set?
Let's just end this already. Ready when you are.
Alright, time to put on a show. I ran forward, closing in on the portal. As I did, the shadows erupted from the void, zooming straight towards me and the axe in my hands. I prepared to swing, but then my newfound alien allies leapt into the fray. Literally. They had compressed their legs like springs, building up potential energy, and released it with one great push, zooming past me and into the line of fire. Brock was the first to make contact. He slashed at the first one with his claws, knocking it to the ground. He stepped onto the fallen shadow to prevent it from getting up. Then, he grabbed a second shadow and swung it as hard as possible, knocking it into a third. His newfound flail struggled to escape his grasp, but the Ivanian's grip was too strong even for something that wasn't wholly corporeal. He continued to slash and smash his way through the shadows as dozens barraged us. Not far behind him, Breck had a similar but different approach. He grabbed the first shadow to cross by him with his right hand before switching it over to his left. He then grabbed a second one and a third, putting both into his left hand along with the first. He continued to build up this bouquet of shadows until they filled his hand and nearly forced his grip open.
Brock, maneuver E!
Brock turned and nodded. He hunched down, facing away from the shadows and towards Breck with his hands folded and against the ground. Breck stepped onto Brock's hands and compressed his leg. Brock then swung his arms in an arc over his head. As his hands approached a 90-degree angle with the ground, Breck jumped and flew faster than any animal straight towards the portal. He spun, still holding the shadows, forming a mobile propeller that knocked any shadows in his path out of the way. Just before reaching the portal, he shifted in the air, placing the shadows under his feet and pressing them into the ground. The shadows lay paralyzed, and he vaulted the portal. As both Brock and Breck performed and recovered from their maneuver, I continued to my goal. Stray shadows managed to evade the coordinated assault, but they didn't fare better against me. I swiped my axe at one that came within 7 feet of me. Unlike the ones that had been batted away, it completely disappeared. I slashed again at one still on the ground from Brock's batterings. Light shined from the axe, and its form changed again. Now in my arm was a spiked pavis, a shield that went up past my elbow and down below my kneecap, ending in a sharp point and colored similarly to the axe. The tether used to hold it was, again, not attached directly to the shield. A blue handle, seemingly leather, existed parallel to the green orb of light that remained. The orb floated in a small square opening of the shield, not touching any of the ends. Now with the greatest opening to the portal I could ask for, I dashed as quickly as possible. The first shadow approached from my right, but I raised my shield and knocked it away. The second came from high, so I dove and somersaulted under, maintaining my sprint. A third and last came straight on, so I raised the pointed end of the shield and Superman punched through it. As I reached the portal, the pavis changed into a rapier and slashed the shadows attempting to escape the portal. Suddenly, a shadow rushed me from my peripheral vision. Barely a second before I was hit, I managed to stab out in its direction and it vanished.
They're getting back up!
I turned around, ready to defend from any oncoming attackers. Turns out I didn't need to. There in front of me, defending me from the shadows recouping, were Brock and Breck, holding off any shadow that dared get within reach of them. I looked up at them for a split second and smiled. Keep them off me. When I start, no more shadows will come out, but it takes 30 seconds to go through the process.
Understood.
I made another quick stab at an exiting shadow to clear the portal for cleansing. I held the rapier up, a light blared, and the lantern was back in my hand. I held it up and out, just skimming the surface of the void. I closed my eyes and focused. Brock whipped his fist at a shadow, knocking it 40 feet away. Breck grabbed one and pitched it into another. Dozens kept coming back, never going down longer than a few seconds. The aliens tried to maintain their defense, but soon one smacked into Breck and made him step back. One came at Brock from the right when he was looking left, and almost made him fall prone. They both managed to claw their assailants away, but they came without end. One hit Breck, then another, but as soon as a third was about to knock him down, it froze. They all froze, and a voice came. It is not I who banishes you from this world, but the world itself. Whatever your dark intentions, know you are not welcome. Be gone! For a moment, nothing happened. Truly nothing. Then, the portal inverted. Out of the way! I dodged to the right, nudging the Avanians to do the same. The lantern sat in the air just in front of the portal and glowed bright green, and the shadows began to move, but not towards anything. They were trying to move away, to escape, but soon the vacuum of the void became too powerful. One by one, they were sucked in. Eventually, the last one was slowly absorbed. The lantern flashed once, so bright no one could look at it. Then the light waned. No longer in the air, the lantern sat on the ground, lightless and stiff as stone. A pause took over the clearing. Well, that went better than normal.